Hello and welcome back to another video of Leetcode solutions. In this video, we will be solving this question, Zigzag Conversion. In this question, given a string as an input with a number of rows, let's say for example 4 here, we need to convert this string to this zigzag shape using the number of rows given going down one column, then going up in a diagonal fashion, and so on. Then we need to iterate this zigzag shape row by row. This gives us the output as we can see below. Iterating the string in a zigzag fashion is not trivial at all. One solution would be to arrange this configuration into a 2D array, then going row by row, reading the values while ignoring empty cells. This obviously is not the best solution. You can see these empty cells here. They may not seem a lot for this string, but if the string gets longer, the majority of the space will be empty, meaning we will waste a lot of memory. Let's look at this in a different way. If we focus, we will find that there is a pattern repeating in this configuration. We can divide the string into these groups. And looking at the first row, we can clearly see that there is a pattern jumping between A and G and G and M. This is the same for the last row, jumping between D and J and J and P. But this is not the only pattern we see. In the inner rows, we can also see that the pattern is repeated, for example, here between B and F and H and L and so on. So if we figure out this pattern, the question can be solved by simply following the pattern each row. Let's start with the first row here with the transition between A and G. This transition is clearly the number of letters that appear within a group. So if we figure out how many letters in a group, then we can go through the first row just by jumping this difference. Let's look at that. Nearly each row has 2 letters in it, so we can start by the number of rows multiplied by 2. But there are some rows which do not have 2 letters. These rows are the first one and the last one. So if we remove 2 from this equation, we will get the right answer. Let's substitute with our number of rows, which is 4. Using this equation, it will give us 6, which is really the number of letters within our group. This does not only apply for the first row, it also applies to the last row too. Actually, if we ignore these inner letters, we can see that even the inner rows follow the same pattern. Let's implement what we have reached so far. We will start by initializing our output with an empty string. Then we will pre-calculate the size of our group. As we said before, it is the number of rows multiplied by 2, then minus 2. We then iterate through each row. We create an index variable for this row, which will start by the row itself. This index is the one that will be used to jump between groups and get the right position. We will loop using this index until we finish the string. Using this index, we will add the character at this location. And then we jump to the next group using the pre-calculated group number. And finally, we return the output. Let's see what this gives us. It gives us this output. We can see that this output now follows this pattern. Very good. Now we need to add these inner transitions. Let's focus on the one between B and F. How can we get the number of letters between these two letters? What if we consider a mini group starting from the B and using the same equation we have up here? The number of rows here are 3, and putting it in the equation, it will give us 4, which is indeed the number of letters between B and F. Let's rewrite our equation to be more general. So here we subtract the current row from the total number of rows, multiply by 2, and then minus 2. Let's substitute again with our current row, which is 1, and gives us the 4 letters between them. Applying this rule even on the next level gives us also the right answer, here between the C and E. You can calculate it yourself. Here for each row, we pre-calculate the small group using the equation we mentioned before. Then, for any row which is not the first or the last one, we use the small group to get the other character in the row in this group. The last part works fine if our groups are all having the same shape like here. But what if the last group is not completely filled as this example? We will get out of range, so we need to check first if we are still within the input length. Let's add this. Let's recap what we loop. We loop through each row and we jump through each group. For the inner rows, we create a small group and find the other character which is in the same row. One final thing, if the number of rows are 1, then the output is the same as the input, and we do not need to do all of that. So we need to add a condition at the beginning of the code, and if we forget this condition, we will get a wrong answer. Let's test this. Works fine. Let's submit. Perfect, with beating 91% runtime. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.